All right, everyone, it's time to elaborate on something I think I sort of alluded to the other day, which is that I'm a proud college dropout. This actually makes sense to make a video on the subject because I don't think I've ever actually touched on it before. I've talked about like cost. The government intervening in our educational system has made it massively expensive to the point where unless you intend to use it as a springboard for a master's or a PhD, there's really no longer any reason to get like a standard 4-year degree from a university sort of thing. It doesn't make fiscal sense. It would make so much more sense to at least complete most everything at a community college where it's a hell of a lot cheaper. It's like maybe a fifth of the cost usually. If you can get like a lot of merit or need-based aid, in-state tuition and stuff, you can sort of justify like a state college. Like I remember when I went to college, I went to both UVM and Castleton, which is now a university. At the time it was Castleton State College. The difference was night and day as far as the cost. Other than that, though, I mean, UVM, really, you were paying more for the fact that you happened to be at a university with a more recognizable name, and there were more facilities. And here's where the cost comes in. When the colleges get free stuff from the government, free taxpayer handouts, what they do is they don't make it cheaper for needy students. They don't make it cheaper in general. They don't pay the staff more or the janitors or anything. The dean takes some of it. The dean of the college gets a raise. And then they build another gym or they build a library extension that nobody will use because it's the era of the internet. Or they build a new art center or a feng shui fountain or something in the green. They use it for frivolous bullshit, decadent bullshit. Smaller colleges tend not to. They focus more on the core things that they have in mind. And then, of course, community colleges and stuff, it's very basic. You can get all of the basics knocked out of the way at your local community college. Go to a state college if you want a 4-year, and you'll save a huge amount of money. If you want to go further, then you transfer into a university. Really, here's how to know if you should go to a more expensive university. Are you in the top 1% of your class? If so, yeah, you can justify that. If you're just in the top 10% like I was, if you're in the top, you're NHS, you did well, you made honors roll, but you're not the valedictorian, don't bother. There's no fucking reason to. You're spending money that you don't have on something that you don't really need. You can get your degree there, just make sure things are transferable. There's usually reciprocity. All the lower level courses, you can take the first couple of years in a state college anyway, even if you are in that top 1%. Hell, you'll probably still be in that 1%. You'll get lots and lots of aid. You pay nothing, basically. When I went to Castleton, I had like a 3.8 GPA almost there. The amount of merit aid and stuff that I got was huge. I paid very, very little, actually, to go to Castleton. I think for the entire year I was there, I paid like $2,000. Like, I mean, literally, like it was like being in the 50s. You could actually have the part-time summer job pay your tuition, potentially doing that. UVM, no, absolutely not. Not unless you're making 6 figures. Make 6 figures and it's fine. Anyway, there are also trade schools. You gotta understand, it's sort of like the dirty jobs thing. People who work on oil rigs or in plumbing or electrical work and trucking and stuff, they make a lot more than you'd think. At the very least, in the modern structure of the economy, if you're going for like the 2 to 4 year basic degree and you're not getting into a managerial position or within your field, most fields of which are overcrowded, you're going to end up working in a lower level job. You're going to make half as much as some kid who took a year-long course to get certified in something related to basic engineering, to work as an architectural understudy. I looked towards the end, before I became like professional YouTuber sort of mode. I looked into jobs around here, and like what I qualified for was pretty scant because I didn't have a degree and I didn't have any experience. I looked into becoming like an architectural understudy for a local group. It's $20 an hour to start. Now that's considerably higher than the sort of jobs, even the okay sort of jobs I would have otherwise qualified for, even if I had a 2-year degree. Or so, I mean, I would have qualified for the sort of thing that give you like 16 an hour maybe, and that would be sort of the upper limit. I was looking into local delivery services and stuff. Even that would be higher than some of the clerical positions I actually would have qualified for. By the way, 20, 25 an hour sounds okay, for someone raised in poverty as I was, until you realize they want to raise the minimum wage to 15, which would undercut all those people. Say goodbye to the working class. They're the new marginally poor. Hey, yeah, I was paying my bills, but now everything costs 20% more. Fuck it. I'm just going to leave the state. That's what will end up happening. Fuck minimum wage laws. I'm a proud college dropout. I'm very glad that I dropped out because, I mean, if I had finished out that last year, I'd just be more debt. What would I have to show for it? I'd have a piece of paper from UVM that would say, congratulations, you paid us a bunch of money and met the minimum requirements for us to say that you studied here. Well, everyone knows I studied there. I can already show that. I can show my course listings and shit. What the fuck does that extra semester or year have to do with it? Oh, you took more credits. Who cares? Who cares about your credit? Like, I'm not literate enough. I didn't ask anyone's permission. I just started editing books and stuff. I didn't need an English degree to do that. I didn't need to study public speaking. Look, there was this one course called CALS, College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, which I initially was in freshman year. And you had to take these CALS courses, and they had, like, different shit that you had to do, and one part of it was, like, computer stuff, like, you had to do, the basic website design. You had to know how to slap together a very basic website on UVM's internal server, and show that you could, like, basically put in a picture, put in a blurb, a couple of links, the very, very basic stuff, like Drudge Report sort of website. You had to be able to do that, and you had to be able to do a bit of public speaking. Now, normally it was in small groups. Now, of course, I speak for a living here. I'm not bad at speaking. But it gets a little bit nerve-wracking when you're going up in front of a room full of 200-300 other people who actually are in proximity, so if you stutter, if you sound bad, you get chuckled at for weeks and weeks thereafter. Yeah, sorry, that triggers my social anxiety a little bit. So what I did is this, very, very simple. They did the speaking in alphabetical order, if I remember correctly. And, of course, my last name starts with a W. I'm near the end of the list. So when they got near my name, I just took the next couple of classes off. They were right before the exam. When I turned in the exam, which I didn't do bad, I think I got a B on the final exam, which is okay. I actually took, like, basically a 10% grade cut. At the end of the course, the teacher there is like, well, you weren't here yesterday. You were supposed to give your speech. I'm like, I just sort of shrugged it off, and he just sort of rolled his eyes and took my paper, and then I left, of course. And for the last, like, 3 days, I didn't have anything to do, which was great. And I passed the course and with like a C- or something. And part of that was I got my grade cut because I didn't have that 10% of my grade there. I would have done considerably better if I had. Would have raised my GPA a little bit. Rather than whine like a pussy, like some people would, and say, well, I'm triggered by social situations. I think I did the right thing, which was I just didn't show up. Just fucking skipped the class a couple times. I just avoided it. I said, fuck it. I'm going to pass the course. I know I can do well enough in the final exam to pass it. I could have said, well, can I do something else? Can I lick your shoes instead, professor? Some people would have done that too. I'm so socially anxious. Let me lick your shoes instead. I'm so socially anxious. Let me do other shit. Not interested. Not interested in groveling for your approval or your letter grade. Just give me a fucking, give me whatever I'm due and then leave me alone. At least I passed the course, and I did. It was shitty, really. College was, for the most part, a shitty time. I know I got a little off track there. I liked Castleton. Castleton's okay. I had a fairly decent time there. I mean, I'm not exactly the party type. I'm not exactly social butterfly, except online. So I didn't really mix it up with anybody. I just sort of hung out and, did whatever. Interesting times. I'm glad I dropped out. The only other possibility was going back to Castleton. Like, I could have been more local. I wouldn't have had the debt because I had high GPA when I was there. At UVM, my GPA was mediocre, lukewarm, not very good. At Castleton, I think I was in the top 10%, which is funny. And this very interesting year of my life. It was fun. They don't have nearly enough anthropology offerings. They only got like 3 courses in it. UVM's like an entire sheet full of courses. That's the only advantage of one of the larger universities, is that there is more elaboration upon those core areas. It's just that then they piss away all the money on 10 tiers of women's studies, and here's, a course, like an advanced course in rice farming in South Central Cambodia, basket weaving 203, stuff like that. No thanks, I don't want to learn how to weave baskets. I mean, I'm sure that it's relaxing and stuff, and I'm sure the teacher has huge horn-rimmed glasses and love beads and serves you rooibos tea, but not exactly the sort of thing that I'm interested in. I thought about going back to college now. Like, I've gotten over some of my anxiety, so I think it'd be easier now, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm in my 30s, number one. Number two, I've still got that student debt. Number three, it's like, a couple more years from now, I can't even transfer the credits back in, so I'd have to start all over. There's no fucking reason to bother. I'll get an associate's degree in something that I'm not interested in. I'll get an associate's of English or something. I've already got enough credits to get that. It's just I'd have to do the basic shit at Castleton. I could probably do that in a year. It'd be funny. Yay! And I can put letters after my name. Why? I don't know. I just paid money for this piece of paper. That's about all. Peace out.